The diplomatic vessel, New Seoul, drifted silently through the dark void of space. Ambassador Hansel Kim stood at the main viewing window, watching the stars that had been humanity's dream for so long. Today would mark the first official meeting between humans and an alien species. After 300 years of searching the galaxy, they had finally found someone who wanted to talk. Hansel adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform and checked his translation device one more time. Behind him, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. Captain Taemin Lee monitored the ship's defensive systems while keeping his expression calm. Chief Science Officer Yoonji Park studied the incoming alien vessel on her screens, taking notes about their technology and design. The alien ship was massive. It stretched over 2 kilometers long and bristled with what looked like weapon systems. Dark metal plates covered its hull, and strange blue lights pulsed along its sides. Hansel had seen the preliminary reports, but seeing the Valkyrian vessel in person made his stomach tight with worry. "Ambassador, they are requesting permission to come aboard," Captain Lee announced from his station. "Granted," Hansel replied, "but keep our shields up and weapons ready, just in case." Yoonji looked up from her console. "Sir, their ship is scanning us. Very thorough scans. They are looking at our hull composition, our power systems, even our crew quarters." "That seems normal for a first meeting," Hansel said, though he made a mental note. They probably want to make sure we are not a threat to them. 20 minutes later, the airlock doors opened with a soft hiss. 3 alien figures walked onto the human ship. They were tall, nearly 8 feet high, with gray skin that looked like stone. Their eyes were black and cold, like looking into empty space. The leader wore what appeared to be military armor. Covered in symbols and decorations, Hansel stepped forward with his best diplomatic smile. "Welcome aboard the New Seoul. I am Ambassador Hansel Kim, representing the United Earth government. It is an honor to meet you." The lead alien looked down at him with what might have been amusement. When it spoke, the translation device converted its words into perfect Korean, though something about the tone felt wrong. "I am High Commander Vexter, of the Valkyrian Empire. You may address me as your superior." The alien's mouth moved in what humans might mistake for a smile, but there was no warmth in it. "We have come to discuss your future." Hansel felt the first warning signs but kept his diplomatic training in control. "We are excited to learn about your people and share knowledge of our own civilization. Perhaps we can establish trade relationships or cultural exchanges." Vexter made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter, but it sounded more like grinding metal. "Trade, culture, you misunderstand, little human. We are not here to make friends with you." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Captain Lee's hand moved slightly closer to his sidearm, while Yoonji continued recording everything through hidden sensors. "Then what brings you to our space?" Hansel asked carefully. "We have been watching your species for some time now. It spread across this region of space like a disease, building your little colonies on worlds that do not belong to you. The Valkyrian Empire has decided what to do about this problem." Vextar walked around the room, examining the human technology with obvious disdain. His 2 companions stood motionless, their hands resting on weapons that looked capable of destroying the entire bridge. "You see, humans, the galaxy has rules. Strong species rule. Species serve or die. It has always been this way. We have conquered over 1,000 worlds and absorbed 47 different species into our empire. Some chose to serve, others chose death. Both options worked well for us." Hansel felt his diplomatic smile becoming harder to maintain. I think there has been a misunderstanding. Humanity seeks peaceful coexistence with all species. We have no desire for conflict." "Peaceful," Vextar repeated the word like it tasted bad. "Yes, we know about your peace. We have studied your colonies. Your people work and farm and build cities. You have families and schools and hospitals. Very touching, very weak." The alien commander stopped in front of Hansel, towering over the human diplomat. "Here is what will happen. Your species will surrender all of your colonies to the Valkyrian Empire. Your people will become workers in our factories and mines. Your soldiers will lay down their weapons. Your leaders will bow before the Empire. You have 1 of your weeks to agree to these terms." "And if we refuse?" Captain Lee asked from his position at the command console. Vexter turned his black eyes toward the human captain. "If you refuse, we will demonstrate why 47 species chose to serve rather than fight. Your colonies will burn. Your ships will be destroyed. Your homeworld will become a monument to the price of defying the Empire." The bridge fell silent, except for the soft humming of the ship's systems. Younga's fingers moved across her console, sending encrypted messages to Earth Command. Captain Lee checked his weapon systems one more time. Han-Sol took a slow breath and straightened his shoulders. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but carried clearly through the room. "Hi, Commander Vextar. I believe you have made an error in judgment." "Oh." The alien seemed amused. "What error would that be, little diplomat? You assume that because we seek peace, we are incapable of war. You mistake our desire for friendship as weakness." You believe that because we have not attacked you, we cannot defend ourselves. Hansel stepped closer to the towering alien, looking up into those cold black eyes without flinching. Let me be very clear about something. Humanity has spent 300 years reaching for the stars because we dreamed of finding friends among the cosmos. We built colonies to create new homes, not to conquer territory. We sent diplomats instead of warriors because we hoped for something better than endless conflict. The ambassador's voice grew colder with each word. But do not mistake our hope for weakness. Do not confuse our dreams with inability. And do not assume that because we choose peace, we have forgotten how to wage war. Vextar's expression shifted, slightly, as if he was seeing something unexpected. Hansel smiled, but this time there was no diplomacy in it. You want war, High Commander? You believe that threatening human families and human worlds will make us kneel before your empire. The ambassador paused, letting the silence stretch between them, then prepared to be erased. The emergency session at Earth Defense Command began exactly 6 hours after the new Soul transmitted Ambassador Hansel Kim's final message. Defense Minister Ji-Woo Choi stood at the head of the conference table, her face grim as she looked at the assembled military leaders. The holographic display in the center of the room showed the Valkyrian fleet positions throughout human space. Ladies and gentlemen, the diplomatic phase is over, Ji-Woo announced. The aliens have given us 1 week to surrender all human colonies and submit to slavery. They believe we are weak, prey that will roll over and die without a fight. General Bioram Song activated her personal datapad and projected new information onto the main screen. Intelligence confirms the Valkyrian Empire has conquered 47 species over the past 2,000 years. Their standard method is to make demands, wait for surrender, then absorb the new species into their workforce. Admiral Su Jin-yoon leaned forward in her chair. What happens to species that refuse to surrender? Complete extermination, Bio replied coldly. They destroy military targets first, then civilian populations, then the planets themselves. Very thorough, very final. The room fell quiet as the military leaders absorbed this information. Outside the conference room windows, Earth looked peaceful and blue, with white clouds drifting over green continents. Civilian ships moved between orbital stations, carrying families and workers who had no idea their entire species was about to face extinction. Dr. Hyun-woo Nam cleared his throat from his position at the far end of the table. Minister Choi, I believe it is time to activate Project Ghostlight. Several officers looked confused, but Ji-Woo nodded slowly. Explain it to everyone. Dr. Hyun-woo stood and walked to the holographic display. With a few commands, he changed the image to show what appeared to be a normal cargo vessel. For the past 50 years, Earth Defense Command has been preparing for this exact scenario. We always knew that when we found aliens, they might be hostile, so we built our entire space infrastructure with war in mind. The image of the cargo ship shifted, showing its internal structure. Hidden weapon systems, armor plating, and military-grade engines appeared throughout the vessel. Every civilian ship in the human fleet has been designed as a potential warship. Every space station can become a fortress. Every colony has hidden military installations. The aliens think they are facing a peaceful trading civilization. They are actually looking at the largest military force in this region of space. Commander Woo Seok Han pulled up additional files on his tablet. How many ships are we talking about, Doctor? Including all converted civilian vessels, hidden military platforms, and our secret defense fleet. We have approximately 12,000 combat-capable ships, Hyun-woo replied. The aliens have been scanning our outer colonies and probably counted maybe 300 vessels that look like military ships. Admiral Su-jin smiled for the first time since the meeting began. They have no idea what they are walking into. It gets better, Dr. Hyun-woo continued. He changed the display again, this time showing technical specifications for human weapons. Our technology is more advanced than theirs in several key areas. We have been monitoring their communications for decades, studying their ship designs, learning their tactics. They know nothing about us except what we wanted them to see. General Bioram Song stood and activated another section of the display. 3 hours ago, Colony Defense Command reported the first Valkyrian attack. They hit New Busan with a small force, expecting easy victory. The display showed a tactical map of the New Busan system. Red dots represented Valkyrian ships, while blue dots showed human defensive positions. Colonel Dong Haeun Kong commands the garrison on New Busan. The aliens sent 12 warships against what they thought was a lightly defended farming colony. The tactical display began moving, showing the battle as it happened. The Valkyrian ships approached the planet in a standard attack formation, their weapons charging for orbital bombardment. This is where they made their first mistake. Continued. New Busan is not just a farming colony. It is a fortress world disguised as a farming colony. The display showed hidden defense platforms rising from what appeared to be grain silos and farm buildings. Massive guns emerged from underground positions, while the colony's civilian ships revealed themselves as heavily armed patrol vessels. The battle lasted 17 minutes, Bjorn reported. All 12 Valkyrian ships were destroyed. We lost 2 defense platforms and had minor damage to 3 patrol ships. Colonel Kong reports 0 civilian casualties. Defense Minister Ji walked around the table, making eye contact with each officer. This is just the beginning. The aliens will send larger forces when they realize what happened at New Busan. We need to be ready for full-scale war. Dr. Hyenwu brought up another display, this one showing Earth's solar system. Minister, I recommend we activate the Sol defense grid immediately. The display zoomed in on various asteroids and space debris throughout the solar system. As the image enhanced, it became clear that many of these objects were not natural. For 30 years, we have been hiding weapons platforms inside hollowed-out asteroids and disguising them as space junk. The Valkyrian scouts have been scanning our system for weeks, but they see only a primitive inner system with basic orbital stations. The hidden weapons platforms lit up on the display, revealing a defensive network that covered every approach to Earth and its colonies. How many platforms? Admiral Sujin asked. 4,000 active weapons platforms, plus another 8 mobile units disguised as mining ships and research vessels. Hyenwu replied, the moment the Valkyrian fleet enters our system, they will find themselves surrounded by firepower they never saw coming. Commander Minho Park, head of fleet intelligence, activated his own data files. We also have something else, the aliens. Do not expect every human colony has been preparing for this day. Every colonist knows basic military training. Every farmer can become a soldier. Every teacher can operate defense systems. The display changed to show population statistics from human colonies. Numbers that looked like civilian populations were broken down to reveal trained militia forces, reserve military units, and emergency response teams. The Valkyrians are used to conquering species that separate their military from their civilian populations, Minho explained. Humans do not work that way. Every human is a potential soldier. Every world is a potential fortress. Every colony will fight to the last person. Defense Minister Ji Woo returned to her position at the head of the table. The aliens wanted to know if we would choose to serve or to die. Let me make our choice very clear. She looked around the room at the assembled military leaders, each one representing different aspects of humanity's hidden war machine. We choose to fight. We choose to show these aliens what happens when predators mistake humans for prey. We choose to demonstrate why peaceful species can be the most dangerous enemies. Ji Woo pressed a button on the table, sending coded messages to every human world, every hidden fleet, every secret installation throughout their space. Activate all defensive systems. Begin fleet mobilization. Send word to every colony commander. The holographic display showed the message spreading throughout human space at faster than light speed, reaching dozens of worlds in minutes. The Valkyrian Empire is about to learn something important about humanity, Ji Woo concluded. We have been preparing for war while hoping for peace. Now they will see what 300 years of preparation looks like. Outside the conference room, Earth's orbital stations were already beginning their transformation from civilian platforms to military fortresses, just as they had been designed to do all along. War Prince Zalmuth stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Bone Crusher, as it led the Valkyrian invasion fleet toward the human home system. Behind him stretched a formation of 300 warships, the largest fleet the Empire had assembled in 50 years. It should be more than enough to crush these weak humans and make an example for the rest of the galaxy. War Prince, we are approaching the outer edge of the Sol system, his navigation officer reported. Long-range sensors show minimal defensive activity, a few orbital stations around the third planet, some mining operations in the asteroid belt. Zalmuth nodded with satisfaction. The humans were exactly as pathetic as intelligence had predicted. Their so-called home system had practically no defenses. This would be easier than conquering the plant-eating Urbani species 3 years ago. Communications, broadcast our demands on all frequencies, Zalmuth ordered. Tell them they have 1 hour to surrender before we begin orbital bombardment. Signal sent, War Prince, the communications officer replied. We are also detecting multiple civilian ships fleeing the system. Cargo vessels, passenger transports, research ships. They appear to be running away. Good, Zalmuth said. Fear makes the conquest easier. Let some of them escape to spread word of our power. On Lunabase, hidden beneath the moon's surface, Fleet Commander Myung-shin watched the Valkyrian fleet approach on her tactical displays. The alien formation was impressive, she had to admit. 300 ships in perfect battle order, weapons charged and ready for destruction. They had no idea what they were flying into. Commander, the alien fleet is maintaining standard approach vector, her tactical officer reported. They are scanning our orbital installations but showing no awareness of the hidden platforms. Myung smiled. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment. Every piece of space debris in the Sol system had been carefully placed. Every asteroid had been hollowed out and filled with weapons. Every seemingly innocent civilian installation was actually a military fortress waiting to reveal its true nature. How many alien ships? She asked. 300 confirmed. Commander, mix of battleships, cruisers, and support vessels. Their technology appears consistent with our intelligence reports. And they still think they are attacking a primitive civilization, Myung said. Signal all hidden platforms. Prepare for full activation on my command. Dr. Sung-Ho Bae sat in the control center for the Sol defense grid, his fingers hovering over the activation controls. Around him, dozens of technicians monitored the disguised weapons platforms throughout the solar system. For 30 years, they had maintained the fiction that these were simple asteroids and space junk. Today, that illusion would end. Doctor, we have confirmed targeting locks on all enemy vessels, his lead technician reported. The defense grid is ready for activation. Excellent, Sung-Ho replied. Remember, we want to disable their command ships if possible. Intelligence would like to interrogate their leadership. On the Bone Crusher, War Prince Zalmoth received the human's response. To his surrender demand, he listened to the translation with growing amusement. They refused to surrender, his communications officer reported. The message says, and I quote, Earth and all human colonies will defend themselves against any aggressor. We suggest you reconsider your hostile actions. Zalmoth laughed, a sound like grinding stone. They suggest we reconsider. How adorable. Signal the fleet. Begin attack pattern 7. Target their orbital stations first, then move to planetary bombardment. War Prince, his sensor officer called out suddenly. I am detecting some unusual readings from the asteroid belt. Multiple energy signatures appearing throughout the system. Explain, Zalmoth demanded. Unknown, sir. The signatures are coming from objects we previously classified as space debris and natural asteroids, but the energy levels are increasing rapidly. On Luna Base, Commander Myung watched as the Valkyrian fleet began their attack run toward Earth's orbital stations. The aliens were following exactly the same tactics they had used on 47 other species. Predictable, arrogant, fatal. All stations, this is Luna Command, she broadcast on the military frequency. Execute defense grid activation. Show them what humans really look like when we stop pretending to be weak. Throughout the Sol system, chunks of rock and metal that had drifted silently for decades suddenly came to life. Asteroid surfaces split open to reveal massive gun barrels. Space debris unfolded into weapons platforms. Mining ships dropped their disguises and powered up military-grade shields and weapons. Engineer Haijino watched from the command center of Platform 7, hidden inside what appeared to be a large metallic asteroid. Around her, the facility transformed from a dormant rock into a fully operational battle station. Weapon systems came online, targeting computers locked onto alien ships, and the platform's true nature was revealed. Platform 7 to Luna Command, she reported. Systems operational. We have targeting locks on 12 enemy vessels. Similar reports came in from hundreds of hidden platforms throughout the system. The Sol defense grid, humanity's greatest secret, was finally being unleashed. On the Bone Crusher, chaos erupted. Across the command deck, War Prince, we are detecting massive weapons signatures throughout the system, the sensor officer shouted. Hundreds of platforms. They were hiding inside asteroids and debris fields. Impossible, Zalmoth snarled. Our scouts surveyed this system for weeks. There were no military installations. Sir, I am reading over 4,000 active weapons, platforms, plus additional ships that were disguised as civilian vessels. War Prince, this is not a primitive system. This is a fortress. Before Zalmoth could respond, the first wave of human weapons fire reached his fleet. Concentrated energy beams and kinetic projectiles struck the Valkyrian ships from every direction. The aliens found themselves surrounded by firepower they never saw coming. Evasive maneuvers, Zalmoth ordered return fire on all platforms. But the Valkyrian fleet was trapped. They had flown into the middle of a defensive network that had been designed specifically to catch invading forces. Every escape route was covered by hidden weapons. Every movement brought them under fire from new directions. Captain Jinwoo Park commanded the disguised battleship Mountain Wind, which had been pretending to be a cargo hauler until the shooting started. Now it's true, military systems were online, and it was hunting Valkyrian cruisers through the outer system. Targi acquired, his weapons officer reported. Valkyrian cruiser, bearing 270. They still think we are a cargo ship. Fire all forward batteries, Jinwoo ordered. Let them learn what a human cargo ship really carries. The Mountain Wind's disguised hull sections fell away, revealing the heavy weapons underneath. The Valkyrian cruiser was destroyed before its crew realized what had happened. All across the Sol system, the same scene played out hundreds of times. Civilian ships revealed themselves as warships. Innocent space stations became military fortresses. Asteroids opened up to unleash devastating firepower. War Prince Zalmoth watched his mighty invasion fleet being torn apart by enemies that had been invisible minutes earlier. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being destroyed by opponents they had never detected. How many ships have we lost? He demanded. 43 confirmed destroyed war units, another 62 severely damaged. The humans are using some kind of adaptive targeting system. They are learning our tactics faster than we can change them. On Luna Base, Commander Myung observed the battle with professional satisfaction. The Valkyrian fleet was powerful, but they were fighting blind against an enemy that had studied them for years. Commander, we are detecting attempts by the enemy to retreat, her tactical officer reported. Negative, Myung replied. Activate the outer perimeter platforms. No alien ship leaves this system. If they wanted a war, they will get one. But they do not get to run away when they realize they picked the wrong fight. The final trap closed around the Valkyrian fleet. Hidden platforms throughout the outer system came online, cutting off every escape route. The hunters had become the hunted, and there was nowhere left to run. War Prince Zalmoth realized with growing horror that his 300-ship fleet was facing a defensive network larger than anything the Valkyrian Empire had ever encountered. The humans had not been hiding because they were weak, they had been hiding because they were deadly. General Jae Sung-yoon stood in the war room deep beneath Earth Defense Command, studying the holographic display that showed the complete destruction of the Valkyrian invasion fleet. Of the 300 alien ships that had attacked the Sol system, only 12 had survived long enough to surrender. The rest were now debris floating among the asteroids where humanity had hidden its true military strength. General, we have extracted full navigation data from the captured alien vessels. Intelligence Officer Woo Jin-lee reported. We now know the location of every Valkyrian world, every fleet position, every military installation in their empire. Jace nodded grimly. And what did we learn about their home defenses? They are confident in their own territory, sir. Most of their fleet was sent here to Earth. Their core worlds have minimal protection because they never expected anyone to strike back. Perfect, Jae-sung said. Signal the fleet commanders. We are launching Operation Cleansing Fire immediately. Captain Soo-young Kim received the orders aboard her dreadnought Inchins Fury as it powered up its engines in the hidden shipyard behind Jupiter's moon Europa. Around her, dozens of other warships were emerging from concealment throughout the solar system. Ships that had been disguised as mining platforms, research stations, and cargo depots were revealing their true nature as humanity's secret battle fleet. Captain, all systems are operational, her executive officer reported. The fleet is ready to depart on your command. Soo-young looked at the tactical display showing the route to Valkyrian space. The aliens had been so confident in their invasion that they had broadcast their approach on open frequencies, never thinking that their victims might use that information to strike back. Signal the fleet, she ordered. Today we show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens human families. Today, we teach the Valkyrians about the difference between prey and predator. The human counterstrike fleet consisted of over 200 ships, each one designed specifically for deep space warfare. Unlike the Valkyrians, who relied on overwhelming numbers and brute force, human ships used advanced stealth technology, adaptive weapons systems, and coordinated tactical networks. Pilot the Jin Han climbed into the cockpit of her stealth fighter aboard the carrier Bizen's Pride. Round her, other pilots from Ghost Squadron were performing final equipment checks on their nearly invisible spacecraft. These fighters had been designed using technology reverse-engineered from captured alien ships and improved with human innovations. Ghost Squadron, this is Ghost Leader, the Jin announced over the secure communication channel. Our target is the Valkyrian Military Command Center on their primary world. Intelligence reports they have never faced stealth fighters before. Copy, Ghost Leader, came the replies from her squadron mates. Ready to show them what human ghosts can do. The human fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving the Sol system behind. But unlike the Valkyrian invasion, this was not a surprise attack. General Jae-sung had ordered that their approach be broadcast on all alien frequencies, giving the Valkyrians time to understand what was coming for them. Commander Young-jung monitored the psychological warfare broadcasts from her position aboard the command ship Sol's Vengeance. The messages were simple but effective, designed to spread fear throughout the Valkyrian Empire. This is the Human Defense Force, the broadcast announced in perfect Valkyrian language. You demanded our surrender. You threatened our families. You believed we were weak, prey that would bow before your empire. You were wrong. We are coming for you. Prepare yourselves. The broadcast included detailed information about the destruction of the Valkyrian invasion fleet, complete with tactical recordings showing how easily human defenses had overwhelmed the alien attackers. The message was clear. The hunters had become the hunted on the Valkyrian homeworld of Kethra. Supreme Military Commander Vorthok received reports of the approaching human fleet with growing panic. The destruction of War Prince Zalmoth's invasion force had been a shock, but this counterattack was beyond anything he had imagined. How many ships are approaching our territory? He demanded. Over 200 confirmed vessels. Commander, his intelligence officer reported. But these are not the civilian ships we observed in their system. These appear to be purpose-built military vessels, with technology we have never encountered. Impossible, Orcs snarled. Our intelligence reports showed the humans had minimal military capability. Sir, we now believe those reports were deliberately misleading. The humans appear to have been hiding their true military strength for decades. Everything we thought we knew about their civilization was wrong. Dr. Chanho Park worked frantically in his laboratory aboard the research vessel, Hidden Blade, as the human fleet approached Valkyrian space. His team had been developing what they called the quantum virus, a weapon specifically designed to target Valkyrian computer systems. Doctor, we are 30 minutes from the first target system, his assistant reported. Are the virus packages ready for deployment? Almost finished, Chanho replied, making final adjustments to the quantum transmission array. This virus will spread through their computer networks faster than they can shut them down. It will disable their weapons, their shields, their communication systems, everything. The virus was based on captured Valkyrian technology, but improved with human innovations in quantum computing and network infiltration. Once deployed, it would render entire fleets helpless within minutes. Captain Dongman commanded the stealth destroyer Shadowstrike as it approached the outer defenses of the Valkyrian system next. His ship was completely invisible to alien sensors, allowing him to observe enemy positions without being detected. Captain, I count 47 Valkyrian ships guarding this system, his tactical officer reported. They appear to be on high alert, but they cannot detect our presence. Excellent, Dongman replied. Signal the fleet, begin phase 1 of the attack. Throughout Valkyrian space, similar scenes were playing out. Human stealth ships positioned themselves around alien worlds and military installations, gathering intelligence and preparing coordinated strikes. The Valkyrians knew the humans were coming, but they could not see them until it was too late. Colonel Manesio Kwan led the assault force tasked with capturing the Valkyrian military command center. Her troops were equipped with powered armor and weapons designed specifically for fighting in alien environments. Unlike the Valkyrians who relied on their natural physical advantages, humans used technology to level the playing field. Colonel, we have confirmed the location of their primary command facility, her intelligence officer reported. Heavy defenses, but they are designed to stop conventional attacks. They have no experience fighting against human stealth technology. Perfect, Manesio replied. Signal the assault teams. We go in fast and hard. Capture their leadership alive if possible. If not, make sure they understand the consequences of threatening humanity. The first phase of Operation Cleansing Fire began with the simultaneous activation of Dr. Chanho's quantum virus across 12 Valkyrian systems. The alien computer networks crashed within minutes, leaving their fleets blind and helpless. Weapons systems shut down, shields collapsed, and communication arrays went silent. Captain Soo-Young Kim watched from the bridge of Incheon's Fury as Valkyrian ships drifted helplessly through space. Their crews trapped aboard vessels that no longer responded to commands. This is easier than I expected, her tactical officer commented. The Valkyrians have been fighting primitive species for too long, Soo-Young replied. They forgot that some prey animals are actually predators in disguise. Ghost Squadron struck next, with Thugenhan leading her stealth fighters through the Valkyrian home system's defenses. The alien sensors could not track the human fighters until they opened fire, and by then, it was too late to mount an effective defense. Target acquired, the Jin reported as she lined up her attack run on the Valkyrian Military Command Center. Beginning bombing run on enemy headquarters. The building that had coordinated the conquest of 47 species disappeared in a series of precise explosions. Centuries of military records, tactical plans, and conquest strategies were destroyed in seconds. Throughout Valkyrian space, the systematic destruction of their military capability continued. Human forces struck with precision and overwhelming technological superiority, dismantling an empire that had taken 2,000 years to build. General Jae-sung monitored the progress from Earth, watching as red dots representing Valkyrian resistance disappeared, one by one, from the tactical display. The operation was proceeding faster than even his most optimistic projections. General, we are receiving surrender offers from 17 Valkyrian systems, Intelligence Officer Woo Jin reported. They are requesting terms for capitulation. Tell them the same thing they told us, Jae-sung replied coldly. Surrender unconditionally or be destroyed. The choice is theirs. The Valkyrian Empire, which had terrorized dozens of species across the millennia, was collapsing in less than 48 hours. The predators had finally met an apex predator, and they were learning the difference between hunting prey and facing an equal opponent. Operation Cleansing Fire was not just a military victory. It was a demonstration to the entire galaxy that humanity was not the weak species others might assume them to be. Supreme Overlord Kethrin sat in the Emergency Council chamber on the Valkyrian homeworld, staring at the holographic display that showed the systematic destruction of his empire. In less than 72 hours, the humans had captured or destroyed military installations across 43 Valkyrian systems. Planets that had been secure fortress worlds for centuries were now under human control. How is this possible? Kethron demanded, his voice echoing through the nearly empty chamber. Most of the High Council had already fled or been captured during the human raids. We are the Valkyrian Empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. How can these primitive humans be destroying us so easily? War Commander Zexenol, one of the few remaining military leaders, struggled to explain the impossible situation. Supreme Overlord, we underestimated them completely. Their technology is far more advanced than our intelligence reports indicated. Their ships appear and disappear like ghosts. Their weapons penetrate our shields as if they were not there. And this virus they released into our systems, Kethron asked. It has infected 90% of our computer networks, Zexenol replied grimly. Our ships cannot communicate with each other. Our weapon systems fail randomly. Our planetary defenses shut down without warning. They have turned our own technology against us. Dr. Chan-Ho Park monitored the spread of the quantum virus from his mobile laboratory aboard the research vessel Hidden Blade. The virus had exceeded all expectations, spreading through Valkyrian networks faster than the aliens could respond. Each infected system provided access to more networks, creating a cascade effect that paralyzed their entire technological infrastructure. Doctor, we now have access to the Central Valkyrian Military Database, his assistant reported. We can see their complete order of battle, their strategic plans, even their historical records. Chan-Ho studied the incoming data with fascination and disgust. The records showed detailed accounts of how the Valkyrians had conquered and enslaved 47 different species over the past 2,000 years. Entire civilizations had been destroyed simply because they were weaker than the Empire. Upload all of this information to Fleet Command, Chan-Ho ordered. Let them see exactly what kind of monsters we are dealing with. Commander Young Jung led the assault force approaching the Valkyrian capital city on Cathra. Her troops moved through the alien streets with precision and overwhelming technological superiority. The Valkyrian civilians cowered in their buildings, having never experienced invasion themselves after centuries of being the invaders. Commander, we have visual contact with the government complex, her forward scout reported. Heavy defensive positions, but their energy weapons are not functioning properly. The virus appears to have affected their military equipment. Copy that, Young replied. Remember, we want their leadership alive if possible. Intelligence needs to interrogate them about other hostile species in the region. The human assault force moved through Valkyrian defenses like they were paper barriers. Alien soldiers who had terrorized dozens of species found themselves helpless against enemies who could appear and disappear at will, whose weapons never seemed to miss, and whose armor was impervious to Valkyrian energy blasts. Captain Bio Shin commanded the orbital bombardment platform Thunder's Hammer as it positioned itself above the Valkyrian homeworld. His orders were specific: demonstrate human firepower without causing unnecessary civilian casualties. The goal was to force surrender, not genocide. Captain, we have targeting locks on all military installations in the capital region, his weapons officer reported. The aliens have ceased resistance. Their air defenses are completely offline. Signal the Valkyrian government, Biomin ordered. Tell them they have 10 minutes to surrender unconditionally. After that, we begin systematically destroying every military target on their planet. In the emergency bunker beneath the Valkyrian capital, Supreme Overlord Kethron received the human ultimatum with shaking hands. The beings he had dismissed as weak prey were now dictating terms to the greatest empire in known space. What are their demands? He asked his communications officer. Complete and unconditional surrender of all Valkyrian military forces. Immediate release of all enslaved species. Full reparations to all conquered worlds. And they want you and the entire High Council to stand trial for crimes against sentient beings. Kethron looked around the bunker at his remaining advisors. Fear was written on every face. The mighty Valkyrian Empire, built over to millennia of conquest and domination, was crumbling in less than a week because they had chosen the wrong prey. Supreme Overlord, War Commander Zexenol, said quietly, we have no choice. Our fleet is destroyed. Our defenses are offline. Our allies have abandoned us. If we do not surrender, they will destroy us completely. Negotiator Minesio Kwan stood in the ruins of the Valkyrian Military Command Center, addressing the surviving alien leadership through a holographic communicator. Behind her, human soldiers secured the facility while technicians downloaded crucial intelligence data from any computers that still functioned. Supreme Overlord Kethron, Minesio said, her voice calm but firm. You gave humanity 1 week to surrender or face extinction. We are offering you the same choice, but with a much shorter deadline. What guarantees do we have? Kethron asked. From his bunker, how do we know you will not exterminate us after we surrender? Minesio smiled coldly. You have the word of a species that spent 300 years exploring space peacefully before you forced us to become warriors. Unlike the Valkyrian Empire, humanity does not make a practice of genocide. She paused, letting that sink in before continuing. However, your empire's crimes against other species will not go unpunished. Every world you conquered will be liberated. Every enslaved population will be freed. Every species you destroyed will be remembered, and those responsible for these crimes will face justice. Dr. Jae-ho Yoon worked in the captured Valkyrian data center, analyzing the records of their galactic conquest. What he found was worse than anyone had imagined. The Valkyrians had not just conquered other species, they had systematically erased their cultures, their histories, their very identities. Commander Jung, you need to see this. He called to a young. The Valkyrians have detailed records of 17 species they completely exterminated, not enslaved, not conquered, wiped out entirely because they resisted too effectively. A young studied the horrific data with growing anger. Send this information to Earth Command immediately. The galaxy needs to know what the Valkyrian Empire really is. Fleet Admiral Sujin Yoon received the surrender message aboard her flagship as the human fleet maintained position around Kethra. The once mighty Valkyrian Empire was now requesting mercy from the species they had planned to enslave. Admiral, we are receiving surrender signals from the remaining Valkyrian systems, her communications officer reported. 41 worlds are requesting immediate ceasefire and protection from human forces. Protection? Sujin asked with bitter amusement. They want protection from us now. Yes, Admiral, it appears that several other species in the region are moving to attack former Valkyrian colonies. The Empire's enemies are taking advantage of their collapse. Sujin considered this information carefully. The Valkyrians had made many enemies during their 2,000 years of conquest. Now that humanity had broken their military power, those enemies were seeking revenge. Signal all human ships, she ordered. We will accept their surrender, but we are now responsible for maintaining order in this region of space. Any species attempting to commit genocide against Valkyrian civilians will face the same fate as the Empire itself. Captain Soo-young Kim watched from the Bridge of Enchantments. Fury, as Valkyrian ships throughout the galaxy powered down their weapons and transmitted surrender codes. The Empire that had boasted of conquering 1,000 worlds was now completely dependent on human mercy for survival. Captain, we are receiving a priority message from the Valkyrian High Council, her communications officer reported. Put it through, Soo-young ordered. The holographic display showed Supreme Overlord Kithron, looking far older and more fragile than in his previous broadcasts. When he spoke, his voice was filled with defeat and a dawning understanding of the magnitude of his mistake. To the leaders of humanity, Kithron began. The Valkyrian Empire formally surrenders all military forces and territorial claims. We did not understand what we were facing. We believed you were prey. We were wrong. He paused, struggling with words that his species had never had to speak before. We beg for your mercy, not just for ourselves, but for our civilians who had no part in the decision to attack your people. We offer complete reparations and cooperation in undoing the damage our empire has caused across the galaxy. Soo-young looked at the defeated alien leader with a mixture of satisfaction and disgust. The predator had finally learned what it felt like to be prey. The price of arrogance, she reflected, was always higher than anyone expected to pay. Ambassador Hansel Kim stood in the ruins of the Valkyrian Supreme Council chamber, looking out through the shattered windows at the alien capital city below. Human ships filled the sky above Kethra, their sleek forms a stark reminder of who now controlled this region of space. It had been exactly 2 weeks since his first meeting with High Commander Vectstar, when the aliens had dismissed humanity as weak prey. How wrong they had been. Ambassador, the Valkyrian leadership is ready for the formal surrender ceremony. Captain Taemin Lee reported from behind him. Admiral Yang Su-shin has arrived with the main fleet. Hansel nodded slowly. Through the broken windows, he could see crowds of Valkyrian civilians watching nervously from the streets below. These aliens had lived their entire lives as citizens of a conquering empire, never imagining they might someday face conquest themselves. Let them wait a few more minutes, Hansel said quietly. I want them to see the full extent of what they awakened. Above the capital city, more human ships continued to arrive. Not just the military vessels that had fought the war, but the true strength of humanity's space fleet. Research ships equipped with weapons that could crack planets, mining vessels that concealed enough firepower to destroy entire fleets, transport ships that carried armies of soldiers and enough supplies to occupy 100 worlds. Admiral Yang Su-shin entered the council chamber with a small escort of human marines. His uniform bore the insignia of the Earth Defense Force, but also newer decorations marking him as Supreme Commander of the Human Galactic Fleet, a position that had been created 3 days ago. When Earth's command realized they now controlled more territory than any other known species. Ambassador Kim Yong-soo said formally, "Are you ready to accept their surrender?" "I have been ready since the moment they threatened human children," Hansel replied. "Bring them in." The doors to the council chamber opened, and the surviving members of the Valkyrian High Council entered under human guard. Supreme Overlord Kithron led them, his proud bearing from 2 weeks ago replaced by the posture of a broken leader. Behind him came War Commander Zexanol and the other military leaders who had planned the invasion of human space. High Commander Vexstar was not among them. He had died when his flagship was destroyed in the Sol system, one of the first casualties of a war he had started with such confidence. Dr. Hae-won Kim, humanity's chief xenobiologist, stood near the surrender table with her translation equipment. She had spent the past week studying Valkyrian culture and psychology, preparing for this moment when humanity would need to explain their true nature to the galaxy. Supreme Overlord Kethrin Hansel began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. 2 weeks ago, your representative came to my ship and demanded humanity's surrender. He told us we were weak. He said we would kneel or be crushed. He believed we were prey. Kethrin stood silently, his black eyes fixed on the floor. Today, your empire lies in ruins. Your fleets are destroyed. Your worlds are under human control. Your greatest military leaders are dead or captured. All of this happened because you made one fundamental error in judgment. Hansel walked closer to the alien leader, his diplomatic training allowing him to project calm authority even in this moment of ultimate victory. You assumed that because we sought peace, we were incapable of war. You mistook our desire for friendship as weakness. You believed that a species that built schools and hospitals and art museums could not also build weapons of unimaginable destruction. Captain Ginho Lee activated the holographic display system, showing images of the war that had just ended. Valkyrian ships burning in space, alien worlds surrendering without firing a shot. The complete collapse of an empire that had taken 2,000 years to build. Let me explain something about humanity that your intelligence services failed to understand. Hansel continued. We are a species that hopes for peace but prepares for war. We dream of friendship among the stars, but we never forget that the universe can be a dangerous place. The display showed images of human colonies, but not the peaceful farming communities the Valkyrians had expected to find. Instead, it revealed the hidden military installations, the disguised weapons platforms, the civilian populations trained in combat tactics. Every human world is a fortress. Every human ship is a potential warship. Every human citizen is a soldier when their families are threatened. We have spent 300 years building our civilization with one hand while keeping the other hand on our weapons. Dr. Hae-won stepped forward with her analysis of Valkyrian society. Your species evolved as apex predators on your homeworld. You developed the mentality of hunters who see all other species as either prey or competition. This worked well for you for thousands of years. She activated another section of the display, showing comparative data about human and evolution. But humanity evolved differently. We were prey animals who became predators through intelligence and cooperation. We learned to hide our true capabilities until the moment we needed them. We developed the ability to appear harmless while preparing for deadly violence. Supreme Overlord Kethrin finally looked up, meeting Hansel's eyes. What? What are you going to do with us? Hansel smiled, but there was no warmth in it. We are going to do what you should have done 2,000 years ago. We are going to teach you how to be civilized. Admiral Yongsu activated a new set of displays showing the human fleet positions throughout former Valkyrian space. Your empire conquered 47 species and enslaved billions of beings. Every one of those species will be liberated. Every enslaved population will be freed. Every world you stole will be returned to its rightful inhabitants. And if they cannot govern themselves after centuries of oppression, Kethrin asked, then humanity will help them rebuild. Hansel replied, we will establish protectorates and provide assistance until they can stand on their own. Unlike your empire, we do not believe in keeping other species as slaves. Captain Jinho activated the final section of the presentation, showing human exploration and colonization efforts over the past 3 centuries. Your species assumed that expansion meant conquest. You believed that meeting other life forms meant war. You were wrong on both counts. The display showed human colonies working alongside dozens of different alien species, sharing technology and culture in peaceful cooperation. Humanity has been making friends across the galaxy for decades. We have trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense treaties with species you never even knew existed. While you were building an empire through fear and violence, we were building a community through cooperation and respect. Dr. Chan-ho Park entered the chamber carrying a datapad with the final surrender documents. The terms were comprehensive and non-negotiable. Complete disarmament of all Valkyrian military forces, reparations to all conquered species, trials for war criminals, and permanent human oversight of their government. Supreme Overlord Kethrin Hansel said formally, you have a choice to make, the same choice you offered humanity 2 weeks ago. You can accept these terms and begin the long process of redemption, or you can refuse and face the consequences. What consequences? Kethrin asked quietly. Admiral Yongsu answered with cold precision. Complete extinction of your species. Not because we enjoy killing, but because the galaxy cannot tolerate predators who refuse to become civilized. The chamber fell silent as the weight of those words settled over the Valkyrian leadership. These aliens who had terrorized dozens of species were now completely at the mercy of the prey they had tried to hunt. We accept your terms, Catherine said finally. Hansel nodded and gestured to the surrender documents. Sign them and understand that this is not just the end of your empire. This is the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization. As Catherine signed the documents with a shaking hand, Captain Ginho began broadcasting the surrender ceremony across all galactic frequencies. The message was simple, but would echo throughout known space for generations to come. This is Captain Jinho Lee of the Human Defense Force, broadcasting from the former Valkyrian capital. Let this be a lesson to any species considering humanity as prey. We are not the sheep you mistake us for. We are wolves in sheep's clothing, and we have been waiting for someone foolish enough to test us. The broadcast included footage of the human fleet, finally revealed in its true strength. Thousands of ships filled with beings who valued peace but excelled at war, who hoped for friendship but prepared for annihilation, who would show mercy to those who surrendered but complete destruction to those who threatened human lives. The age of empires built on conquest and slavery is over, Captain Jinho continued. Humanity offers friendship to all peaceful species and protection to all who need it. But we also promise swift and total destruction to any who threaten innocent life. As the broadcast ended, Hansel looked out at the alien city below, and the human ships above. The galaxy had learned something important today about the difference between predators and apex predators. Sometimes the most dangerous hunters were those who chose not to hunt.